the billion-dollar war nobody remembers. In the late 19th century, a vast stretch of Central Africa became the stage for one of the most profitable and devastating resource conflicts in modern history. Millions of people lived there. Powerful kingdoms traded across the region. Communities farmed, hunted, and built lives along rivers and forests that seemed endless. Then the world discovered rubber. At first, rubber was simply a useful material. But as industrialization accelerated across Europe and North America, demand exploded. Factories needed belts. New inventions required insulation. Most importantly, the rise of bicycles and later automobiles created an insatiable hunger for rubber products. Suddenly, the forests of Central Africa became worth a fortune. Far away in Europe, one man saw an opportunity unlike any other. His name was King Leopold II of Belgium. Leopold ruled a relatively small country, but he dreamed of something much larger. He wanted an empire. While other European powers raced to seize territories across Africa, Leopold quietly pursued a different strategy. Instead of conquering land in Belgium's name, he convinced world leaders that he was launching a humanitarian mission. He promised to bring civilization, science, and progress to Central Africa. Many believed him. Behind the speeches and diplomatic agreements, however, a different plan was taking shape. Leopold gained personal control over an enormous territory known as the Congo Free State. Despite its name, it was neither free nor truly a state. It was effectively the private property of a king, and it contained some of the richest rubber resources on Earth. As demand soared, Leopold's administration created a brutal system designed for one purpose: extracting as much wealth as possible. Villages were assigned impossible rubber quotas. Men were forced deep into forests for days or weeks at a time. Armed agents monitored production. Failure to meet quotas brought severe punishment. Entire communities found themselves trapped in a system where every missed target could mean violence. The profits were staggering. Rubber from the Congo flowed into global markets. Wealth poured into Europe. Grand buildings rose. Investments multiplied. The king became enormously rich. To many outsiders, it appeared to be a remarkable economic success story. But deep inside the Congo, the human cost was becoming impossible to hide. Missionaries, travelers, and a handful of journalists began collecting evidence. They heard stories of villages destroyed for failing to meet production demands. Families separated. Communities devastated. The more investigators looked, the worse the picture became. Reports described widespread abuse carried out by officials and armed forces responsible for enforcing rubber collection. Photographs emerged that shocked audiences across Europe and America. For years, few people had paid attention to what was happening in the Congo. Now the world was beginning to see. One of the most significant figures in exposing the system was a British shipping clerk named Edmund Dean Morrell. While reviewing cargo records, he noticed something strange. Ships arriving from the Congo carried enormous amounts of valuable resources. Ships heading back carried weapons and military supplies. The trade pattern made no sense if the workers were being fairly paid. Morrell realized that something much darker was happening. He launched a campaign that would become one of the first major international human rights movements in history. Journalists published investigations. Activists organized meetings. Witnesses testified. Public pressure grew year after year. The shocking twist was that the so-called humanitarian project had become one of the most profitable forced labor systems of its era. What had been presented as a mission of progress was increasingly exposed as a machine for extracting wealth. As outrage spread, Leopold fought desperately to defend his reputation. He funded public relations campaigns. He denied accusations. He attempted to discredit critics. But the evidence kept growing. The international scandal became impossible to contain. Eventually, the pressure reached a breaking point. In 1908, Belgium took control of the Congo from Leopold, ending his personal ownership of the territory. For the king, it was a humiliating defeat. The empire that had generated immense wealth and prestige had become a global symbol of exploitation and abuse. Yet the consequences extended far beyond one ruler. The damage left deep scars across the region. Communities had been disrupted. Social structures had been shattered. Economic systems had been reshaped around extraction rather than development. Even after Leopold's personal rule ended, the effects would continue to influence the Congo for generations. Today, many people remember the great wars of Europe. They remember famous emperors, revolutions, and battles. Far fewer remember the billion-dollar struggle over rubber that transformed Central Africa and enriched powerful interests thousands of miles away. Yet it remains one of history's clearest examples of how the pursuit of enormous wealth can reshape entire societies, and how profits measured in fortunes can leave behind consequences measured in human suffering. The forests that once generated unimaginable riches are still there. But the shadow of that forgotten resource war remains, a reminder that some of history's most consequential conflicts were not fought for nations or ideals, but for commodities that the world desperately wanted and powerful men refused to live without.